Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Sage. That's me there, in the Cubs hat and the Adidas and those golf LaFleur shoes. Yeah, I've recently started painting a lot more, and I did this one yesterday, and I got to hang out with my dear friend Ruth. This is at our house in Seattle, and earlier in the day I went to Blick, and that's an art supply store in Capitol Hill, and I had $40 cash, and I've been holding on to this $40 for a while because I'm unemployed, and I was like, I gotta hold on to this for whenever I need it, right? And I'll just know. And as I was walking around in the store, I looked at a bunch of different paints, like textile paints, mainly acrylic, right? Like, that's what I know. But then I decided, screw it, I'm gonna do a recipe that was taught to me while I was in LA, and that's buying 3 colors and just doing what you can. With my friend Abstract, we picked out 3 colors. Each of us had a canvas, and we each came up with our own paintings. And painting's actually really new to me. It's something I'm rediscovering. I painted when I was way younger, when I was like 10 years old. My mother is a painter, and she paints a lot of oil paintings. But when I was like 10, 11, or 12, just kind of fell off and stopped painting. So I've always been a really artistic guy, and my main form of art that I love is anything having to do with my voice. I'm an orator, a monologuer, a comedian, stand-up comedian. An actor. But visual art is something I've always really admired. It's something where I've looked at people and I'm like, wow, how do they do that? Or there have been talented people I've come up with in high school. There was this one person, her name was Contessa, and looking at her paintings, I remember being like, oh my God, that is raw given talent. There's no way I could ever do anything like that. But as I've aged, I'm 26 now, I'm starting to realize, it doesn't have to be this perfect thing. You can kind of just get up and go. And that's been the most inspiring thing ever. When I was in LA, Abstract kind of challenged me to pick up the paintbrush. And I was kind of like, I don't know. He's like, no, just go for it. And I only have used thus far a sponge brush. And I've been able to make some pieces of art that stir my soul in ways I can't explain. The way that stand-up comedy's been a release valve for me, I'm starting to get that same release valve from painting. And I picked out 3 colors. I got this neon green, neon yellow, and neon pink. And as you can see here, I'm just painting on my leg. And that's one of the other breakthroughs I've had recently with my art is I've always been such a perfectionist. I feel like that's something that's built into each and every one of us. And there'll be times when I'm painting on the canvas and I won't like the way a stroke looks. And I'm like, this has ruined the whole picture. And then I kind of catch myself in those moments now. I'm getting much better at it. Just being like, no, lean into it. Now you got to draw around that. So for this piece, I had a piece of driftwood that I got from Lincoln Park. And when I picked it up, it was kind of like I was brought back to when I was a 6-year-old and we used to pick up sticks to fight with kind of thing. And then there's this triangle piece that I've had for quite a while now, and I can't even remember where I got it. It's been within the last month that I've had it, but I've been dying to put it on a piece of art. So I got these 2 pieces together, and I'm just painting. I'm just kind of going with my intuition, and I'm trying out new things just in terms of the piece of wood was a little wet, so I was trying to, let it drip a little bit naturally. And I'm trying new things too, where I haven't even had a normal paintbrush or tried painting with a normal paintbrush yet since I've started painting again. But using different objects as a paintbrush, you'll see like I used an incense as one as a paintbrush. And the last time I think I was painting or doing art, I lit that incense and it didn't burn all the way through. And I just thought that was a little awkward, but on some synchronistic shit, I was like, there's got to be a reason for that. So I brought it along with me, and I end up using it in this piece. And another thing I'm like thinking about with art is I feel like naturally as a human being, we're all kind of made to believe that everything is linear, that you must follow all these artistic rules. That was a puffy ass dog. But what I'm trying to do is break the binary a little bit, like respect the color, respect the brush. But what does it mean to respect the brush? It doesn't mean that I have to keep it 100% clean. That's not who I am. You can see here too, that's the paintbrush. I pulled off the sponge part and I was just using the stick. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Just using all the resources that are available to you. And as I was using the stick, I was kind of dabbing it for like circles, and then I started rolling it. I was like, whoa, that is a cool pattern, And what, in this context, it's a paintbrush, right, that I'm looking at and using here. But as I'm drawing this, I'm having these thoughts and I'm relating it to like, okay, I can take the sponge part off of a paintbrush and still dip it in paint and use that on whatever canvas I have, which happens to be that log or that stick. But another paintbrush is our voices, you guys. It's the way in which we talk, we speak, we relate, and just really trying not to get ingrained in anything too hard, It's realizing that thing like, how can I be with the grain or against the grain when I am the grain? We are the grain, we're human beings. That's who we are, and who is anyone to tell me that I'm doing something wrong, especially when it comes to art. That's one thing I can't drop, you guys, is that art is subjective. There's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of freedom in that, a lot of autonomy. I've had people tell me, like, this isn't funny when I do stand-up comedy. And that's valid. That's valid. I see their viewpoint. They're a human being just like I am. They're entitled to their opinions. Am I going to let someone else's perception of me or my art or my voice stop me from using my voice? No, I'm not. That would be ridiculous. That would be not only disrespectful to myself, my spirit, my art, my lifeline, but that would be disrespectful to them. There is value in every piece of art. There is value in a bomb when you're doing stand-up comedy. I can't even tell you guys, I took a break from stand-up for about 2 weeks. And let me tell you, this wasn't something that... It is something I did myself, but I needed an outside influence that wasn't a friend that wasn't a family member to come in and tell me, hey, Sage, you should take a break. And that was my therapist. I went to therapy. And my therapist is such a cool guy, you guys, but like he didn't tell me I could never do stand-up again. But I'll be real with you. When he proposed the idea, hey, it sounds like you have a really toxic relationship with stand-up comedy right now. That was hard to hear. That was biting the bullet. In the first couple days, I was stewing. I was like, I'm leaving everyone, my voice is so valuable. Without me in there, there's no way that it's going to continue to blossom. And by golly, 3 days after I'd taken a break, not only was I like, wow, that is such a narrow-minded, selfish, inconsiderate, arrogant point of view that I was living in, but it was addiction. I was addicted to stand-up comedy, which is okay. This happens when you take something that seriously. When you take cigarettes, when you take vaping, when you take weed seriously, and you seriously depend on this stuff, that's an addiction. And the opposite of addiction is connection. So what that tells me is if I'm addicted to stand-up comedy, if I'm addicted to marijuana, if I'm addicted to a certain lifestyle, I'm not finding as much joy in it as I could. And that's a hard truth. That's a hard truth. And it feels like you're raising these baby chickens, these baby birds, and you just have to crush it. But you're not crushing a baby bird, you're leaving the baby bird there under the heat lamp. And it has food and nourishment. And that is other human beings that do stand-up comedy. And watching from afar, I can't tell you, I was lamenting about how toxic the Seattle stand-up community is. What I was really doing there is I was looking in the mirror. So I was looking in a mirror and I was pointing a finger. Not at myself, at other people. It's arrogant. And after I had made this piece of art, starting to get it going with cardboard here, and I was using this super glue, and I didn't read the instructions. I was just trying to, use the super glue. And I was like, why is this stuff not coming out? And you'll see at some point I read you got to shake it vigorously and all that. So it all turned out well. But on this comedy thing, I took a break, and 3-4 days in, I started to realize, oh, wait a minute. Taking a break, pausing, withdrawing yourself for a moment in time from something you love, that's a strength. And once you start to look at it that way too, I'm slowly rebuilding my relationship to stand-up comedy. And when I got back from LA, I did one set at the Shanghai Room, and I felt like I was on fire afterwards, and not in a great way, it's just emotionally charged up to the maximum, just shallow breathing, rapid thoughts, sweating. But after this one, I went to Woodski's, shout out to Joseph McKnight, shout out Keon Larry, shout out Joe Ekstrom, shout out PJ, shout out Femi, shout out Jordan Mackias, shout out Michelle. And, I'm an improviser. I always have been. So when I went up there, I didn't really have any prepared material. I just mentally, before I was going up, I was like, I'm going to be doing my Sage set. And the Sage set the premise is, I just talk about myself. I make sure that I'm the epitome of the joke. And that's so centering for me, because before then, when I was looking at stand-up as if there's this huge problem in Seattle, I was always pointing fingers, taking jabs at other people, even if it was cloaked really well, in my opinion, and all this in my head. The undercurrent to what I was saying, although it was truthful for me, it was an arrogant truth, and that bleeds through. So it's like you hold a marker to a page, you hold it there long enough, it bleeds through on the other side. You gotta be careful with that. You must. During my talk with Ruth before I started this piece of art here, we talked about goals and ambitions, and one of the things that I reminded myself of, and Ruth kind of helped me process, was when I started this year, I had one real goal, and that was to do 300 stand-up sets this year. And on this day that you're watching, when I did wood skis, that was my 123rd set of the year. And it's May. We're not even 6 months through. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do those 300 sets because that is who I am. I'm a guy that has so many different ambitions, so many different things I want to do in my life. I get overwhelmed pretty easily, By nature, I can go. And I can forget about the goals I set. I've been painting the past couple of weeks and making these little videos and short films, and I kind of let stand-up take a back seat. And that's okay. But what else is okay is to acknowledge, like, hey, man, you said you would do 300 sets. We got to pony up. And let me tell you, I know how to ride a pony. There's a picture of me when I was 4 years old. I was riding a pony, and there's a little cowboy hat, and I wasn't wearing it. It was the pony wearing the cowboy hat. I was just sitting up there riding a pony with a cowboy hat on. And that's who I am. At 4 years old, at 6, 7, 8, 9, 26. That's who I am. And I'm going to be doing these 300 sets. And I've had the inclination, I need to move it to LA, get there as fast as I can. I just got to ask myself, what is the hurry? What are you running from? And for a long time, I was like, it's all these people that don't like me. That's what I'm running from. I burnt bridges. But really what I'm running from is myself. I'm running from forgiving myself and forgiving others. I'm running from the confrontation and facing, I'm running from the bed that I made for myself in Seattle. I really did make this bed for myself. There's a lot of different ways to eat a Reese's. It's something Adam Ray told me. And I'm diabetic. I'm diabetic. But here's the thing with diabetes. I can still eat a Reese's. I just got to take my insulin. And how foolish of me to forget that simple fact. What is taking insulin? Well, literally, it's taking a shot before I eat carbohydrates. But if we're talking analogous-wise to life, it is facing your demons. It is saying sorry to the people that you have hurt. It's slowing down. It's taking care of yourself, and realizing that until you take care of yourself, You can't be taking care of anyone else. Who are you to high horse these people and say you're better than them? You know? Stay grounded. 10 toes down. At all times. You know? It's a practice. And the aim is never perfection. Perfection's the killer. Perfection is living in Seattle and being like, I need to get down to LA because I can do 4 mics a day. And I can hit 300 so fast down there. That's perfection. You know what reality is? Reality is, I'm not ready for that. And I can hit my 300 goal in Seattle. And while I'm doing that, I can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time and make art. I can write. I can stand up for what I believe in, demonstrate integrity, be truthful, be honest with myself and others. And on top of all that, when I fuck up, I can forgive myself. I can forgive others when they hurt my feelings. It's possible. You know? You don't need to know the path. You just need to walk it. 1 foot in front of the other, day by day. And it's 2024 right now. It's an election year in the United States of America. You know, Palestinians are being brutalized and have been since 1948, though it's televised now. And it's continued to scale at an exponential rate. The world needs art. The world needs you to use your voice. You know, and I'm talking to myself, but I'm also talking to all of you. You know, we're all individuals. I'm not telling you to go do stand-up comedy and then go pick up a piece of wood and paint it and then super glue it to some cardboard and say you changed the world. I'm just saying, you know, each of those Palestinians that died, you know, we're made to believe these are all metrics. This is a number. But it's much deeper than that. These are human beings. You know? And the reason that they are not here with us is because they were subjected to an existence that is vastly different from the American experience. Extreme brutality. And makes me feel so good when I see these college kids using their voices. But that's a check and balance we have to pay homage to. We have to kiss the ring of these Palestinians. How are you going to pay homage to them, you know? There's the product. I'll post a couple pictures too here. But free Palestine. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea.